The Kiwanis Foundation of Canada is pleased to bring you this presentation in our Kiwanis Post-Pandemic Education Series. We call it Kiwanis PPE. In this video, we'll look at opening a new club virtually. Every Kiwanian knows that more Kiwanis hands means more Kiwanis service. We see the positive impact that Kiwanis makes in our communities and on the young people in our communities every day. But in times of pandemic and post-pandemic, how do we go about bringing Kiwanis programs to communities that don't already have a Kiwanis club? Like so much else in today's world, we utilize technology, and we do it virtually. COVID-19 has changed the way we open Kiwanis clubs, but it hasn't stopped us from opening them. Let's look at how. Past International President Jim Rochford is credited with pioneering new club opening as it's done today.
One of the things I learned over the years in sales, which I found to be very true in Kiwanis in terms of building our membership, and this would be true both in opening new clubs and in existing clubs, is that the best product doesn't necessarily get the most sales. The best salespeople get the most sales.
It wasn't that long ago that the way Kiwanians were encouraged to open new clubs was long and time-consuming, often taking more than 5 or 6 months to open a single club. It worked, but more often than not ended up burning out the Kiwanians involved.
Instead of taking maybe 6 months to open a new club, which had kind of become part of the model that was being used, we went out on blitzes, as we called them, where we would bring in a group of experienced club openers to work in an area with people that maybe were not as experienced, to go out in the field in half-day modules with an experienced opener with maybe someone not as experienced in that, and to have them see 4 or 5 presentations and hopefully result in them seeing an application and payment of dues for being a member of a new club take place.
This was the process that Lieutenant Governor Donna Kelso chose to do, even though she was forced with doing so in the midst of the greatest pandemic of our times.
There hadn't been a new club opened in Division 3 since 1991, and before that it was 1959, so we were well overdue. We had 3 different locations that we were considering, and we started getting referrals from some of our members for the Petrolia Club, so that was the one we took. Once we started looking into Petrolia, it was a really wonderful little town. It's got about 5,000 people. It's a very historic town. It is the location where oil was first discovered in North America. The attitude of the people in Petrolia is not competition against one another. It's how can they work together to get the best for their community.
Kiwanians understand that many hands make light work. When it comes to new club opening, truer words have not been spoken.
The entire division, all of Division 3, in one way or another took part in this club opening. Whether they were on the call team or on the blitz team or attended the meeting on January 27th, it was a whole division effort working on a project that had the same goal.
The new club opening process can be broken down into 2 main phases, culminating with the club opening meeting. Now, it's important to set this meeting date because it serves to focus the entire effort. Phase 1 involves setting appointments with the new club's potential members. We'll call them prospects. Phase 2 involves meeting with the prospects and hopefully signing them up to become members of our new club. We'll call this 3-day time period prior to our new club opening the Blitz. As a result of COVID-19, both phases have to be done virtually. We used the telephone to make appointments and used Zoom to conduct our virtual meetings, our Blitz. Now, in order to build excitement and not burn out participating Kiwanians, we wanted to complete the entire process within 1 month. That's 1 month from sourcing prospects, training our team, contacting prospects to set up our virtual meetings, meeting them on Zoom, and finally opening our brand new Kiwanis Club.
We went about doing this in less than 3 weeks. We had a list of names, referrals, and businesses that were in Petrolia, And we kept track of them all, and had a phone committee that called each of the names on the list, asked if they would be interested in finding out more about Kiwanis and taking part in the Zoom meeting with two Kiwanians.
Once the list of business prospects was put together, scraped from both the Chamber of Commerce and municipal websites, Kiwanian appointment setters met for a 2-hour virtual training session. Kathy Telford was one of our 6 appointment setters.
And initially, I was not at all comfortable. Making cold calls or talking on the phone to strangers was not my idea of a fun Kiwanis experience. But being willing to help out and also believing very strongly in Kiwanis, I felt it was a small part that I could play in the opening of a new club.
The goal of the appointment setters was not to engage the prospects in a discussion of Kiwanis or their community, but to get them to agree to a follow-up Zoom meeting. At this follow-up meeting, they were told we will discuss their community, Kiwanis, and how to help young people in their community. Prospects were told that while we were considering the formation of a new Kiwanis club in Petrolia, we had to conduct our own needs analysis before doing so. We wanted to get to know Petrolia and learn some of her strengths and weaknesses so that we could decide whether to go ahead and open a new club in the community. At no time when setting up appointments did we ever suggest that the prospect might be asked to join the new club. To aid us in our virtual club opening, we used the CP Desk software program, written especially for our club opening efforts. This online database is accessible by anyone over the web. It allows us to upload or add our business prospects to the database and provides appointment setters with unparalleled flexibility in choosing who to contact.
Tracking program was wonderful for doing that because I could look at it and I could say, oh, business A is one I'd like to talk to that person, but oh, I see one of the other callers is already in contact with that person. So I'm not going to bother them again because you don't want to annoy them. So I would just kind of pick and choose the ones that appeal to me.
Our program allows users to sort and filter the list in any way that they'd like. They can filter it by category and then sort it by business name, or sort it by those who have made calls so they can see exactly who has called who and when they have appointments.
And I would go back on in the evening when I wasn't calling, but I'd go back on and see how many appointments had been set up and how we were doing. And so when you start to see appointments getting set up, then it kind of spurs you on. Like you didn't want one person to be making all the appointments and you had none. So you wanted to make sure that you were well represented for the time that you took. I'd call once or twice at different times, sometimes 3 times, realizing I wasn't going to get through. And I would leave a message on the answering machine, or I would send an email because we had some email addresses, not all of them. And I was totally shocked that people actually returned the phone messages. I wasn't expecting it, and I wasn't expecting the positive reception that we got from the community, considering, they didn't know me.
Our appointment setters made hundreds of calls and callbacks, eventually scheduling 36 appointments for our Zoom Blitz team. Whereas nothing minimizes the importance of ultimately closing the sale and signing up new Kiwanis members, when speaking of our appointment setters, it's not an understatement to say that we couldn't have done it without them.
I said at the beginning of talking that I was not comfortable with this, and I went into it with a lot of trepidation and a few times thought, like, why did you say yes to this? But by the time I was done, I was so excited about the positivity of this community that it took all of that negativity away from me, and it really was an interesting and wonderful experience.
Armed with our 36 appointments, we began by conducting a second training session, this time dedicated to those who will be making Zoom calls with our prospects. Our blitzers were introduced to the field guide found on our Eye of the Tiger website, kiwanistiger.org. They were shown our resource page where forms, cheat sheets, and how-tos can be found. They were told that they'd be divided into teams of 2, One would act as the lead and guide the conversation through the script found in the field guide. The other would play no less an important role and act as the color commentator. That person would sell the sizzle and talk about what Kiwanis does best, Key Club, Terrific Kids, and other projects thought to be important to the prospect. It's important to clearly define these roles ahead of time so no one interrupts the flow of conversation. Ultimately, we are wanting our prospects to join our Kiwanis family. It's critical that we try to get to know them and develop a rapport with them.
Building rapport makes it much easier to close the sale of then coming in at the end of your presentation and, so to speak, asking for the order, which in the case of a new club is getting that person to fill out an application, join the new club, and then pay their dues for that new club. And that can't happen until we build rapport, which is the first thing and most important thing, other than asking for the order and asking for the membership app to be filled out.
If stage one of our Blitz Zoom call is getting to know them and encouraging them to talk about themselves and their community, stage two is selling the old Kiwanis sizzle.
My speech that I give on Kiwanis is that we're an international organization. We're in over 80 nations throughout the world. And the thing that differentiates us from other worthwhile organizations is our emphasis on youth. And I always talk about Key Club, but I do think it's the best thing that we do, bar none. And then what we talk about is to say, hey, we're starting a new Kiwanis Club right here in your town.
So we've established rapport, we've established a need, and talked about how our youth programs can help fill that need. Now it's time for the close.
And so the important thing, after kind of going through that, is to then ask that person to be a part of this vibrant new organization that's going to get out and get sponsored leadership programs going in the community, and that we have an application for membership. And then after getting the person to jot down their name, address, and email and contact info, that we ask for the order by asking them to pay the dues.
Finally, we want to be sure to invite them to our opening meeting and ask if there's anyone in the community that they'd recommend that we contact.
And then you talk to the person about, hey, we think that you could make a good leader in this organization. And is that something that you would consider? And we'll talk about that at our organization meeting, which, by the way, you then tell them when that organization meeting is going to be, which might be later that night, the next day, or the next night. And that is how we get clubs open. We get them open quickly, and we get some energy and action going right away.
So it sounds easy, right? Well, in many ways it is. Donna Kelso and I teamed up to talk with prospect Tara Palominos, an account manager with Gamble Insurance. Hi, Tara. My name's Gary, and this is Donna. Thank you very much for agreeing to spend a few minutes with us talking today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's quite the privilege.
Tara, you're in the insurance business. How long have you been working with them?
Started with Gamble Insurance. Fresh out of high school, I've been doing this for 22 years. And I've been in the forest office, our Sarnia office, and most recently, I've been out in their Petrolia office. I am a small town girl and small town heart, and was really excited for the opportunity to go and work out in our Petrolia office.
The pandemic's changed the way we do most things today. How's it affected your business?
For sure. We've been very fortunate. Our customers have been very receptive that we've been able to do a lot through phone, through email, through virtual. So we're able to carry on business as usual. It's been great.
Are you working in Petrolia or living in Petrolia?
I live in Corunna and then work in Petrolia. Right now, we are working from home. I've been doing that for the last year, but I still go to Petrolia at least once, twice a week and still visit my favorite lunch places. And I go to the cottage and get our espresso beans and visit the Tuesday store, the famous Petrolia Tuesday store. And so I'm still very much an active part of the community. I just happen to now work from home in Corunna.
I used to live in Corunna myself many years ago, but it is a nice little town, but I love Petrolia as well. When Tara mentions the cottage, that doesn't mean that she's slipped off to the lake someplace and play on the beach. The cottage is a little cafe that runs in Petrolia, very popular with all of the people there. Great food and great coffee, and I love it too.
Tara, a lot of people are having to deal with homeschooling these days in addition to business. Are you having to deal with it yourself?
I'm super fortunate. My daughter is 17. She's in grade 12 and super smart because I don't know if I'd help her with her homework if she needed it. So it's fantastic. She does her online. I'm working from home. I do my online, and then we're able to break and have lunch together. And we've definitely found the positive in both of us being home and making the best of it.
That's great. Tara, let me start by asking if you've ever heard of Kiwanis or what you know about Kiwanis.
For sure. So I've definitely heard about Kiwanis. You guys operate and have funded the animal farm in Sarnia, which has been a huge relief to families. It's a free all-day activity, basically, if that's what you want to make of it. Yeah, the impact you guys have made in Sarnia it's tremendous. And when I started working with Petrolia and I was looking for different clubs to join, I was actually a little bit disappointed to see Kiwanis wasn't one of them. So I'm excited that this phone call is happening today.
Well, that's music to our ears. And you're absolutely right. Kiwanis is a global organization. It's made up of volunteers. There's roughly 200,000 of us in the world in 52 different countries.
Wow.
And what distinguishes or differentiates Kiwanis clubs from other service clubs, all that do good work in the community, is that virtually everything we do is centered and focused on young people. Have you ever heard of Key Club?
Yes, one of my coworkers, her daughter is the Key Club in Northern High School.
Oh, great. Well, I'm not from the area, but Donna is. And Donna, you're probably pretty familiar with the Key Club that she's talking about.
Absolutely. The animal farm that Tara is mentioning is sponsored by Seaway Kiwanis, and so is Northern Collegiate for our Key Club. So those are both things that my club that I have come from have sponsored for a lot of years now.
So Tara, one of the things that Donna and I are doing right now is talking to business leaders in the community, trying to get a sense of some of the strengths and weaknesses of Petrolia. And you're particularly well situated because not only are you a business person working at Petrolia, but you're a mother of an active teenager. So from your perspective, what do you see as some of the strengths and weaknesses?
A lot of times people think when you're in a smaller community, you maybe not see those lower income families the same. And definitely Petrolia does have that. I volunteered with the Optimist Club last family day before the pandemic, and we had an affordable barbecue, free bouncy castle, and the Y was doing free swimming lessons. And it was so exciting to see these kids come in, and they were like, they see the barbecue and their parents like, oh, get a hot dog, pop and chips. And they were just like ecstatic. And oh my gosh, like really, I can do that. And we've done the bouncy castle, like best day. And because part of it was free and then part of it was extremely affordable, it was a really good feeling to give back to the community because the kids would have missed out on that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had that fun day. And then also there's a problem in Petrolia with people tagging spray painting.
So Tara, one of the ways that we can help is by starting a new Kiwanis Club right here in Petrolia. Now, in order to do that, we've got to find 15 or 20 business people who either live in Petrolia or work in Petrolia, but most important, have what we like to refer to as a Kiwanis heart, have a real soft spot for young people. Like you've just said, they are our future. Tara, we need you to be a member of this new club.
Absolutely. It would be such an honor to be one of those people that can do that and help out. And the spiral effect from all of that is phenomenal. You do fundraising, you can support the businesses, and in turn, we're helping the kids. It's just an overall positive effect. And I think even during a pandemic, we can definitely make this happen. And I'd be honored to be a member. Thank you.
Well, that's fabulous. Thank you. Now, we have an event that's coming up that I know Donna is hoping that you're able to attend.
Our meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 27th. And we hope that you will be able to attend. We're looking for those 15, 20 people, like Gary was saying, and introduce each of those members now to what Kiwanis is about, and give them a chance to determine what their club will look like, when they're going to meet, how often, and all that sort of thing. So you're in on the ground floor to get the club up and running. So congratulations and thank you so much. I'll send you an application form so you can complete that and fill it in to make it official, and mark your calendar for the 27th. It'll be the first meeting.
Fantastic. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Now, in all transparency, Kiwanis is a dues-based organization. The dues aren't steep. It's not about the money. It is about the mission of helping young people. For this opening in Petrolia, we're hoping that everybody contributes, and that's going to stay right with the new club. As soon as we finish this Zoom meeting, Donna's going to send you an e-transfer link.
Oh yeah, that's no problem at all. That's easy. Again, e-transfer electronics, we can get it all done right away.
Tara, I love your enthusiasm. It's just perfect for a new club.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure meeting you both as well.
We regard the Petrolia new club opening as a resounding success. A success that can be done virtually anywhere. Virtually.